Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode 149 with myself, Matt Shaw. We have the bear with a sore head. It's Kosi Bear. We have the fish, Oli Fisher, and an animal in his own right. It's Johnny Gillespie. How are we doing, guys? We all right?
Good, Matt.
Good, thank you.
Very good, very good. So I think before we start this podcast, we should always say things are a little bit tough at the minute after just 2 games, but, you know, there's always somebody worse off, isn't there? So thank you very much to Bradford City for cheering us up this weekend because, you know, we had the Women's Euros last week and this week we've got Bradford. So we have to take these small wins when we can, don't we? So let's move on and talk about Town, shall we? Town 0, Birmingham 1. Birmingham 2, Town 1, I should say. There's I think a couple of points I'll make, and then I'm going to fire it off to you guys, and we'll have a discussion around the game itself. I know, Ollie, you went to the game, didn't you? You travelled up all the way from London, didn't you, to go to that with the missus, and obviously money well spent with the trains getting cancelled and everything. Good time. But the point I want to make is really, I tweeted it on Friday night as well. There are a couple of words. I know it's just 2 games, and then it could flip, couldn't it? We could have 44 brilliant league games after this. But there's just 1 or 2 things there that worry me slightly. Just after 2 games, I keep having to caveat that because people go, "You're getting too carried away. It's only 2 games gone." I know there are 2 games gone, but what I saw in these 2 games slightly worries me, and that is a team last year which was very together. You know, we mentioned on this podcast, the players mentioned it, what a terrific bond they had, what a terrific understanding. Everything was great. They all loved each other. And what we're seeing now is pretty much the same players stood there arguing, pointing, looking incredibly lost in a first half of football, disorganised. The worrying thing, how disorganised the defence is. Making silly errors that you would never really associate them. Nobody's really dared say it, but Lee Nichols flapped that second, that one into the goal. That's a goalkeeping error. Simple as that. He's passed the ball out of play a couple of times. Ollie Turton is fantastic covering defender, but, for that Scott Hogan header, he's failed to track his runner and cover the centre-backs like Ollie Turton does. These players weren't making these mistakes last year. They experienced Tom Lees getting dragged out wide. That's enough character assassinations for me. I'm sure, we can all get into this, but there are just worrying signs whereby players are not seeming to fit into this system. And I just wonder whether Danny Schofield is trying to get them to do too much too soon. We saw last year Carlos Corberán tried to get them to play the Champagne, Bielsa Fall, etc. And it fell pretty flat pretty quickly, didn't it? After a good initial couple of months. I'm just wondering, because I was watching during the game, and I think we're messaging you, Johnny, on WhatsApp as well. We were sort of discussing the shape, because they have a very sort of an in-defence shape and an out of in a possession shape. So in possession, Jonathan Hogg was dropping into the back 3. They were playing out some good stuff at times. And then when they lost the ball and it was turned over, they went into this 4-4-2 shape. And Jonathan Hoggs then got to get from centre-back to alongside Jonathan Russell very quickly to get into that shape. And he was struggling very badly to do so. And they were running past Jonathan Hogg quite easily at times and causing a lot of issues through the middle. We mentioned last week John Russell and Hogg together is not exactly going to be in the 4x100 metres Commonwealth Games final that we've seen today, is it? But, good players in their own right, but pace-wise, they don't really complement each other. And I'm just wondering whether Danny Schofield's trying to do too much and things need to be simplified a little bit in terms of, those 2 shapes. And maybe we're trying to do too much too soon. And maybe we just need to return to basics a little bit and build from a quite simple base, because what I'm seeing at the minute is a group of players really struggling to do what is being asked of them. And I'm never going to sit here and pretend I'm a tactical genius, or I can compare to Danny Schofield in any way in terms of tactical knowledge. But from my uneducated point of view, if you like, I'm sitting here watching players argue, point, gesticulate, and errors being made. And for me, it just seems after 2 games, they're struggling maybe to get to grips with what is being asked of them. And we've lost both games. I'm going to throw that over to you guys. Tell us what you think. So hello to everybody who's online, Chris, Mike, everybody who's watching, all 20 or so. that we've got at the minute. If you guys can hear us okay, let us know. Let us know the sound quality is good. And good to see you guys as well. And remember, click that like button. And before I get going too far, let's just mention that this podcast again this season is sponsored by Magic Rock Brewing, which is fantastic for us. So you guys, if you fancy something, a little drink online, not that you can drink online, but buying some drinks online, go to magicrockbrewing.com and or .co.uk. And use our code of AHTTC10 to get 10% off your online orders. Jonny, I talked a lot there at the opening. It's time for me to shut up and let someone else have a go. So I'm going to throw this to you about the tactical shape, and just let me know your thoughts on the game in general. And then anyone else wants to jump in, Kosi, Oli, jump in with Jonny. Go for it.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think Schofield probably had to change something. Hogg and Russell, as they were in the Burnley game, didn't work. It was clear he kind of changed it, like I say, at half time to something slightly different. Second half of the Burnley game, he's changed it again for the Birmingham game. Like I say, Hogg kind of sat back out of possession in 3-4-3. In possession in 3-4-3 to move more to a 4-4-2 off the ball. And I think in principle it works, but again I think it's too much too soon. And you start to see after the first 10 minutes, first 15 minutes. It wasn't working in Birmingham. We're getting that space in the middle of the park and then out wide when people were kind of finding the gaps, trying to come in and cover for Town as well. I think you're right in what you said. I think you don't want to go back to basic football, because I pose a question: what is basic? Because if we kind of go to a flat midfield, that didn't work. He's tried to do something different. You can't have got him for that. I agree with why he's tried to change it. That's not necessarily worked. And then you just think, well, what is the right midfield Huddersfield at the moment? And we kind of touched on it last week. It's kind of a bit of a personnel issue as well, because Kasumu, if Kasumu hadn't gone off in the Burnley game, he probably would have started for Birmingham against Birmingham. Burnley and Birmingham are too close. I'm going to keep getting them mixed up. So he's been played a bit of a bad hand there anyway. So he's got to kind of still run with Hogg and Russell. He's tried to tweak it. It's not quite worked. I feel the main problem is I don't know who we play in that space to negate the issue. There were other problems as well. Individual errors. Again, you can't necessarily point the finger at Schofield for that, because there were players who, like you quite right said last year, weren't making mistakes, that made mistakes, passes going out, passes not to feet. I don't know. Again, caveat is 2 games in. We're not in game 20 here where these problems still going. Is it a bit rusty? Is it short pre-season? Is it how we approach pre-season? I think we're going to have to wait. But I think in reality, the midfield, I do feel for Schofield, because if I sat here and think, right, that didn't work, what would I do? It's not an open check, but I'd probably look to bring someone in, because I think that is the issue. We don't have someone who's capable of playing in midfield, doing what we need to do. And I think that is the glaring issue. But ultimately, I think we've got to look at it where we are. We don't know how good Birmingham are yet. We don't know how good Burnley are. We don't know how good we are yet. And there's a lot of factors that are so early on in the season that we've just got to stay positive and keep backing the players that are playing. But yeah, it does worry me a little bit, not kind of infighting, but finger pointing, a bit kind of people not quite sure what they're doing or having to go at each other, something we didn't see last year. But again, it shows passion, it shows frustration. I read in one of I think it was Danny Schofield's article in the Examiner saying that it was a passionate dressing room at half time. And ultimately, that's what you want. There's still players that care, still players that will go at each other. As long as it's done in the right way and players can take it, then it's not necessarily a negative thing. But yeah, problems, but I don't necessarily know how to fix them. I think that's fair to say as well, from regards to Danny Schofield and he may or may not be getting. I don't know how you fix that midfield without bringing someone in or having a fit Kasumu, personally.
Go on, Oli. You went to the game, didn't you? You paid your money, so you get to have your say, as they reckon.
I only paid a
thoughts?
tenner. I only paid a tenner. It was.
Did you get in as a student?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. So.
Are you a student? You're about 30 years old, are you?
Yeah, roughly.
A mature student.
The thing is, the stewards they don't get paid enough to challenge people on it, do they? So took a chance and got in, and it was £10 too much, to be honest. But yeah, I totally agree with the vast majority of what Jonny said there. To be honest, I think first of all, the idea that there might have been any great deal of continuity from last season, like we were sold at the time of Schofield being announced as the first team head coach, has kind of gone out of the window. A lot of the good principles to our game that we saw last season have been very much missing during the first 2 games of this season. And to be honest, I think if you isolate both of the games that we've seen so far, the first half has probably been what's cost us in both games. We approached both of those games in the wrong way. I think with Burnley, you can say fair enough. You can chalk it up to naivety. Burnley have just come down. They've got a quality midfield that are going to do that to a lot of teams. They're going to overrun a lot of teams with what they're able to put out in the middle of the park. And we were caught static, and we looked like we never really got up to the pace of the game. Fair enough. You don't really expect that away at Birmingham. Now, no disrespect to Birmingham, but I don't think that they'll get an easier 3 points at home this season. Firstly, because I don't think they'll win many games this season, to be honest, and secondly, because of how light we were and how just disappointingly slack we were in the first, particularly the first sort of 30 minutes of the game. We never really got into it. We never looked up for the challenge from a physical point of view, because that was the only way that they were going to get the major foothold in the game, was by outworking us, and they certainly did that. The same sort of problems seem to rear their head in the middle of the field, because I think we're at a point now, I know it's only 2 games in, but we saw it enough last season as well. We're at a point now where we might be able to say with some confidence that Hogg and Russell cannot coexist to start a game. There's been interviews given, there's been various quotes about how they're seen as a very similar sort of mould of player, and there are very obvious differences, but I don't know if there is a role for 2 out-and-out sixes in the system. If you're going to play a double pivot, I think that their duties overlap too much. I think that, that there's no pace from either of them, and against any team that is up for it, any team that has a bit of quality in midfield, they're going to overrun us there. And I think we're going to find a problem again this season, as we have done in recent seasons, where if we go behind in games, we find it very tough to then turn it on its head. But I'm disappointed in particular about the 2 goals that we conceded. The first one to concede so early on, and it was a nothing goal, really. It didn't have to do anything. He just wound up across from the right-hand side, and you cannot let your man get in there at the near post. Scott Hogan hasn't scored a goal since January, and we've let him in for the get all season. So that was disappointing. Players pointing fingers, and I'd like to look at that and think that the reason that they're pointing fingers and they're attributing blame to each other is probably because they're not used to conceding cheap goals. We didn't concede many cheap goals last season. And what I hope is that, they're not in the habit of doing so, and that's why they're going to be so emotional about it. And then to concede the second goal when we did just before half-time effectively killed it as a contest for me. That lad, I can't really pronounce his name, the guy who was playing on the left for Birmingham.
Bruschetta,
yeah.
Sounds like Bruschetta, yeah.
Bruschetta, yeah. But yeah, I mean, look, he certainly ran about a lot, but there's no way that he should have had his name on the score sheet.
Yeah, there's on toast, to be fair, didn't he?
And Nichols flaps at one, and we're not going to start pointing lots of blame at Nichols, because he saved us plenty more points than he cost us last season, and he will continue to do so this season, especially at Leicester. It is what it is with that, but it was just the timing of the goal just before half-time. For me, it really did reduce our chances of getting back into it. And then when we did score the goal, which I'm sure we'll come on to because it was a fantastic team goal, I was very disappointed that we gave it our all for about 5 minutes and then went back to aimless crosses and passing it around the back. It just seems that a lot of those things that made us dangerous and gave us a cutting edge last season have evaporated pretty quickly. And that's a shame to see. And the fans, when they need a bit of something to get going and they need a hand in terms of, generating atmosphere and getting some enthusiasm back, performances like that are not going to help.
Kosi, let's bring you in here. I think we've been a bit down on this game because obviously we've lost another one. But to be fair, when you look back, Sorba Thomas has that chance where he pulls wide where he should have done better. I thought we should have had 2 penalties, although I haven't seen them back. I thought Rhodes got bundled over in the box for a penalty, and the Tino one looked like it potentially was fouled going into the box, but I'm happy to be corrected on that one because I haven't seen that again. So really, when you look at it, we could have easily snatched something there, and it probably wasn't totally undeserved because I didn't really think Birmingham offered a great deal. In all honesty, they scored both goals and sat back. That's what happens in the Championship, isn't it? They didn't have to do an awful lot. Is it that bad, or is it just teething problems?
Yeah, I think it was bad, to be honest. I did a podcast on Thursday night with some Blues fans, and they were I would expect them to be upbeat because they got a
good lads, Sam, aren't they?
Draw in the first game, but we're saying it with John Ruddy that got them the draw, nothing else. So they took a point all day long before I said, well, shake hands. We had a bit of banter about it and that as well. And obviously about half an hour in, 45 minutes now, we're thinking, yeah. But let's be honest, O'Brien, Toffolo, Colwell, Sinani, and you're pushing him a bit with Pippa. That's 5 quality players that had been lining up there. And they're not there. And the guys that are coming in just not as good. It's as simple as that. I think his fullbacks are awful, absolutely awful. We've real issues there. I mean, as soon as Leeds were pulled out wide there, I've just thought if he gets a good ball in here. But Bakuna were brilliant, absolutely brilliant. That'd have been one of the goals of the season. Well, it might have been the goal of the season. Might as well forget.
It's one of those where they're going, it's amazing, and we look at our defender and think that's absolutely atrocious, don't we? It's one of those.
You knew after 10 minutes it was a Bakuna going night, wasn't he? We're anonymous in the game in the league, I think, in February and that as well. But
I thought
I know you've probably thrown on me for a bit of positivity there, Matt, but
I thought you might be.
Yeah, John Russell's a massive issue. There were people telling me last season that he wasn't as good as we were all making out, and he were being O'Brien were covering up a lot of stuff. And you know, I never really saw that, but I remember the Luton game in the playoff, and I thought he was very poor in that game as well. But now I just hope he don't go into full on Corona mode. You know, kind of a breakthrough season, did well, and you know, anonymous as well. But a lot of problems. I thought, yeah, you mentioned there, Plachetta, I was going to mention him and that as well. Got big Norwich season card all at work. We were like, how did that Plachetta do? I said, mate, it was unbelievable. Every time he ran at us, we were absolutely panicking. And
he murdered Turton, didn't he?
Yeah, it was
absolutely murdered him.
Said, Matt, we could have easily got a draw out of the game, you know, fortuitously, but that's more down to Birmingham's lack of quality, really, and that as well. I listened to the Birmingham coverage. It were interesting what they were saying. They were so disappointed with us. They were like, I think I don't know what they expected. They'd obviously seen kind of a lot of us transfer business and stuff, but yeah, when the referee blows the whistle at the start of the game, just like Burnley and on Friday, why does it take us an half to sort stuff out? Pathetic. And yeah, so disappointing. Surely we're going to improve, but I think the one thing for me, I watched the Norwich Wigan game Saturday for an else saw it, and that's Wigan looked great. Wigan looked fantastic. They looked solid. And the one thing I were like kind of contenting myself with, as much as we'd lost a bit of quality, I always still think we will be solid enough, and we're not. But for me, we're crying out. Johnny covered it there. We're crying out for a midfielder. You know,
it's on my thing here. Are we a midfielder short?
Yeah, 100%.
On the thing.
Zoom, mate. We use his injuries, his record, and you know the fact that he's been a League One player for all his career. That he's a bonus player for me, Zoom, not someone to build round as well. But yeah, I always babbled on a bit there, but I can't really say how much. I thought we were going to.
The goal was nice.
I thought we were going to beat 2, and I thought, yeah, we should. You might, Ollie, did you have a good view of the penalty? Because it was a poor camera angle from what I saw. So
yeah,
I
thought he got it right. To be honest, I think as Matt said, are we on about the one that was right on the edge of the box here?
The Rhodes one in.
Oh, the Rhodes one. I couldn't see. It was sort of a bundle and flailing arms, and then. But yeah, the other one I thought was about right. I think he fell into the box and the contact was probably just outside, right on the edge, and it was still a good free kick opportunity. And unfortunately, nothing came of it. But yeah, I don't know.
How bad as fullbacks? Fullbacks are awful, aren't they? And you know, I thought they were kind of backups last year. Well, they were backup fullbacks. Let's be honest. Turton filled in when he did a good job, but he were a backup, and Ruffles were nowhere near it. So why should we be surprised that 2 players that Carlos were like, no, mate, you're not my first choices. They're not looking the best, because if they were better than they were last year, they'd have been in, wouldn't they? So why should we?
I think Ruffles will be back to being fullback. I think pretty soon with Nakayama coming in. I would imagine.
Yeah, I think the thing about Turton is I think Turton had a good season as a whole last season, but he played a different role. So he's not playing the same role as last season as he's doing this season. He's been asked to do what he was signed to do.
You can't play Oli Turton as a right wing back.
No, and he's proven to be
madness.
weak. Yeah, he's proven to be weak. So I think whether Carlos recognised that and tried to Do you know what I mean? Put him in a place where he's alongside people, do you know what I mean, back three who could help him out, or we thought, do you know what I mean, I need him to do a job for various reasons because of injuries and kind of coach him through a bit more. But he's been put, do you know what I mean, he's more conventional kind of right back, and yeah, he's not the same player as he was last season. And you can't, do you know what I mean, that is the issue. It's you could argue it's almost another player gone because he's not playing where he was.
Maybe he's just doing an Oli Turton because he was like this at the start last season. Then all of a sudden he came out and he was a breakout player, wasn't he? He did really well. So maybe we're just seeing maybe he just starts slowly. Maybe it's Oli Turtle. Maybe he starts slowly and wins the race.
Birmingham guys were losing the spleen, but says also bringing the ball. That's embarrassing. And how bad we were. If you want,
there's no movement ahead of him. There's no movement. It's all to do with speed. It's speed, mate. It's speed. You know, they were playing 3-4-3. Hogg had it. He'd pass it to Russell. It'd come straight back because there's nobody ahead of them moving for the ball. It's frustrating.
The goal was so out of place because it
was brilliant. It was a brilliant goal.
Speed, brilliant goal. Speed.
It was Sorba was outstanding on that goal. Sorba was absolutely outstanding coming in. Yeah, it was a fabulous goal. Yeah, I thought Sorba were all right second half. Actually, I thought first half he was really poor, but second half he looked threatening. I thought. And he looked a bit more like his old self, and you know he was excellent on that goal. To be fair to him,
the thing with the goal that really annoyed me is that it showed, you know, just a few bits of
tweaks,
smart movement and quick passing, and Birmingham are not going to be able to react to it quick enough. You know, if we just string together a few little bits of quality to build a move overall, and a lovely finish from Ward, you know, nice composure to find the far corner. We showed how. I mean, it's not easy because it was a nice move to put together, but it wasn't anything absolutely groundbreaking. It was just a case of pass, move, be quick, be decisive, and then next thing you know, we've broken them down finally and we've scored. And then we had, you know, a 5-10 minute spell of pressure after that. But what frustrated me is that for all of us in the away end who thought that the goal would really kick us on and the atmosphere built up, and you thought something's happening here, the momentum in the game shifted, we're going to get a point. If we equalise, can we go on and win it? We then just reverted to type again by looking rudderless and looking out of ideas when it was hardly rocket science that got us back in the game in the first place.
I think one of the things that you could be slightly worried about, and again, it's going back to 2 games. You can argue against quite easily the fact that I don't particularly know what Schofield's system is. I don't particularly know what he's trying to do, what he's trying with the ball, what he's trying to do, because we were kind of from reading kind of what he wanted to do was kind of a bit more attacking football, a bit faster pace, more numbers going forward. I don't think we've necessarily seen that apart from in that very quick move which actually led to a goal. Now it might be a case of he stood on the sidelines thinking, right, eventually you've done what I've asked and it's worked, or it might have been just a bit of a kind of like purple patch where it kind of came together. But like you say, that just didn't carry on, and it became very pedestrian, very slow. Lee's looking forward, no options, passing to Boyle, looking forward, no option. Boyle then goes back out to the full back to the. And I think it's you can't say, well, look, we're trying to do something and it's not coming off. I think I'd be more confident if we'd lost 2 games, but you can see what they're trying to do. It's not quite working yet. Give them a bit more time, they'll get it. But there's no direction. Both games are completely different, but equally poor.
To be honest, Johnny, we said it's not a new thing that for a couple of years on this podcast now we've said if a team camps on the edge of their own box, we struggle to naturally break them down. So I don't think this is anything new, you know, with Danny Schofield or anything. I think there's a bit more patience maybe at the minute with a Cobra side. We weren't averse to knocking more long balls forward, were we, or hitting a couple of diagonals here and there. Whereas this, you know, we're trying to be a bit more patient, I think now, and I'm not against that. I thought Redoni played quite well, actually. I think there was a little bit. He thought he started slowly, but once he got into it, I thought he was quite bright. He's a positive to take out of the game, I thought. Jack Redoni and Tino had spells, didn't he? Where he's going to be. I think Tino's going to be streaky. You know, in every game, there's going to be bits where he looks unplayable, and then bits where he's anonymous. I think that's just going to be Tino and the role that he plays. You know, sort of just off the striker. But we do need a little bit more movement. And I thought Dwayne Holmes came on and he looked like he wanted to be there. I thought he was sparky, you know, but again, in terms of quality, probably not quite there. But he looked like he wanted to make things happen, and I just thought maybe the triple substitution killed a little bit of momentum, or maybe we were slowing down a point anyway, and he's tried to reinvigorate. But it just seemed to stop. It just seemed to stop the sort of flow, didn't it? And you know, Danny, it's new for Dan. Danny's learned. Absolutely no Huddersfield fan wants Danny Schofield to fail, and nobody wants to sit here and take it. Or nobody will take any pleasure in sort of criticising Danny Schofield. He's a Huddersfield legend. You know what I mean? He's many people's favourite player. People grew up, you know, with Schofield on the shirt. You know, we all really love Danny Schofield. We just worried. Cult. We argue about this, Kosi, all the time. Cult hero, Danny Schofield, easily.
Right? Yeah, we're not a legend, mate. But
yeah, cult hero.
I agree
we'll
with
take
Jonny.
that.
We were so smart. It was weird, and you know, back to a few people who went to some games this weekend, and this 5 subs things, I just can't have it. And used the people tell me that when the Leeds game, so I didn't have a clue coming on or going off and changes and stuff like that. So I just think sometimes you can sling too many people on, and yeah, I think you don't know the troubles with Tino. Is the arrangement with Chelsea, or can we play him as long as we want? And yeah, I get, you know.
No, if there was, you wouldn't have seen that last year, would you?
I just thought, oh no, you know, when he was coming up, because again, he's someone who could bring you something out of nothing, really, and that as well. Danny Ward, these 2 games, bloody hell, what a finish! And like the first game, it's so far apart than everyone else. It's like COVID's back, isn't it? You know, like this social distancing from our midfield, like to Ward, is about, you know, 50,000 meters. Get your masks on and what have you. But yeah, it's and yet people say to me, "Oh, we need to sign a striker." Do we bollocks, man? We need to
central midfield. So where isn't it?
Yeah. We're not creating all. It's not about signing a striker.
We could do with a striker, but in terms of the first 11, I think midfield's the most glaring place at the minute. But in terms of the squad, you probably do need a striker. But if Danny Ward pulls his hamstring, and you've only got Jordan, haven't you? But
what about Kamara, Matt? Or is that again just too risky? Chucking another?
No, I like it. I like him, but he's not fast. He's not lightning. He's not going to be flying across the midfield. He's quicker than Russell and Hogg, but not by a lot. But he's young as well. He'll make mistakes. So if he's got an experienced player beside him making errors, it's not going to go well. But he is left-footed, which is a plus because Russell and Hogg are both naturally right-sided. So he adds that balance. I really like him, but you need. I'm thinking sort of Diarra might actually provide a bit of that spark ahead of the midfield. Because we are struggling to transition from into that sort of final third, and maybe someone like him could potentially be that player who links the mid and the final third. And but it's a lot to ask though of someone at his age.
89 minutes and same last week with Rhodes 85. What's the point? And then subs. What is the point?
Yeah, it was. It's funny because people are sort of laughing at the EFL Cup game against Preston that's coming up, but I wonder actually if it could be massive for us. Not only because
is this Jan Sievert? Jan Sievert Lincoln massive? Is this
season starts in midweek? Not only massive because obviously there'll probably be some rotation and some players who haven't been given much time so far this season will probably get starts. We might see some of the names you've just mentioned, maybe Danny Grant, and they'll be able to stake a claim. Yeah, they might be able to stake a claim for getting some more first team minutes, and then if they're impressing those, they might find themselves part of the starting lineup. Not only that, but we need a result badly. I think if we were to get beat in the cup at home by Preston, who they've not scored a goal yet after this season. I think they've drawn both.
Don't, Ollie, don't say that.
This is so.
Ollie, you teed that up beautifully.
Ollie,
you're right, Ollie.
What have you done?
It's weird because it's like ironic. It's Birmingham, but again, clutching at some real main tangents. But that's promotion season. We were on his arse, and then we played Birmingham in FA Cup game. Wagner, we were all going south to me. And that we honestly were the most coldest night ever at St Andrews, but we won 4-1 in extra time.
That was in the Premier League. We're in the Prem.
As Mel Booth said, it gave us a fillip, and we went on obviously the rest of history. But I agree, Ollie. I'm hearing people I won't go if they paid me and blah blah blah. This is a massive game for us, and we need to get some confidence because there's nothing there. And Stoke City, they've not started the season well either, but. That's not a game I'm looking forward to on Saturday on the back of something crap again on Tuesday. It's a huge game on Tuesday night, and Schofield's got to get something nailed down, a system, or I just hope we're not going to have like 8-9 changes and that as well. I don't think it's a game for that. It's a game for building.
It's a game.
We've got that question to take. Right, shall we?
It's a game to go on.
What I'll do? Let me go on. No, go on, and then I'll go to YouTube.
It is definitely a game to win. I think with the way the club is at the moment, three points, effectively not 3 points, is a bit of a pass to the next round and make a difference. And Everton last year kind of did that really. I think we looked really good. I think some players kind of made a difference in that game. And obviously Russell came out of the Burnley game third round FA Cup or fourth round FA Cup.
Yeah, did,
so
yeah,
came
true.
out of that, do you know what I mean? So players can come out like Ollie says and make a difference and see themselves, do you know what I mean, being big parts of the season. So absolutely, it's a game to go and win, but hopefully few players have got a point to prove. And I think there's plenty within the squad who are of that mindset. So hopefully that happens.
There is somebody on the Mac reckons he thinks the team is going to be Nichols in goal, Spencer right back, Roman Edmonds, Green, Boyle, Nakayama, Kamara and Jackson in the double pivot, Mahoney, Holmes, Karoma, and then Rhodes. I don't know whether take that with as it is, but yeah, there'll be starts there for, if this is true. Obviously, this starts for Nakayama, Boyle, Spencer, Kamara, Ben Jackson. They do like Ben Jackson in midfield, don't they? For considering he's a left back, Mahoney, Holmes, Karoma, Rhodes. So yeah, if that is the team, then there's obviously going to be a lot of fresh starts there.
Surely
good chance.
The team hasn't been decided yet, though.
To be honest, they do tend to. I have heard some team news a little bit early for both games, and obviously I don't share it. But they have, it has come quite early in the week for the team news, or the little bits I've heard. So maybe it's true, maybe it's not. But there's a chance there if it's true for the likes of Brodie Spencer and Nakayama, considering how Ruffles and Turton have maybe not set the world alight. Kamara, again, I think he's a proper talent, but he's very green, shall we say. And the same with Ben Jackson. Ben Jackson's been here quite a while now. He's 21, pushing 22, I think. So there's he's going to need to push through at some point. Otherwise,
Time for the BJ. Get him in.
And Conor Mahoney, obviously, and Karoma. Josh Karoma really needs to be played into form because we've seen what he could do a couple of years ago, and he's not done it for a long time. So, he's almost in the last chance saloon. But move back to YouTube and we'll come. So I asked the question because it is Danny Schofield, a Huddersfield Town cult hero to the masses. And the response was yes, 57%, no, 43%. But we only had 7 votes. But I'm taking that win. So I think if we asked a wider score. Well, legend / cult hero / thing. It's the same thing. But let's have a look. So, ish. Who have we got? Chris Meehan says, distinct lack of leadership and passion on the field on Friday. Lots of individuals not performing and not working as a unit. Chalk and cheese in comparison to last season. Terrier792 says, the players look clueless in what they're meant to be doing. Thank God for Tino and Jack Rodoni. They look proper players. Jack Johnston says, Hug and Russell aren't mobile enough to play in a 2 in midfield. Kasuma would bring more energy, but obviously he's sidelined for a few weeks. Clear that midfield are being overrun frequently. Mike says, Hoyle made a comment about players that outdo the club, etc., and players are left behind by the club. For me, Holmes and Karoma have been left behind big time. I think that might be a bit harsh on Dwayne. On the plus side, the goal we scored was very well played. Chris Meehan against his Sober looks like he believed too much of his own hype. I keep hearing that, but I don't buy that at all. I think he's a confident guy. It seems that it got floated, didn't it? It got floated last year because when he had a dip, it's just
his socks up high.
Yeah, it's that hair, isn't it? It's that hair. Anyone with hair like that's gotta have an edge. But yeah, I don't know if he does believe his own hype, but I think he's
socks back down.
I think he's a character for sure, but I think he just blows hot and cold. I think a lot of them do. I think that's the problem.
I think he's allowed to do that as well.
Yeah. Pearson going to be a big miss.
Brilliant, he won't be with us. Yeah.
Let's have a look. So Chris also says Pearson going to be a big miss. Reg not ready yet. Possibly causing the uncertainty at the back. Maybe. I think we'll probably need more games.
What did you think of Reg on Friday night?
I did okay. I didn't think anything. I just thought okay. I think he's been okay in both games, to be honest.
I can't put him at fault for any of the goals that we've conceded so far.
I think there were a 10-minute spell where he got really badly bullied by Ashley Barnes against Burnley, but I thought he pulled it back round again. I thought he kind of got, he had a bad spell. I think he's done all right. I think if you play him, he'll look all right, and I think he's earned a run. I think it's just a bit early to say yes or no, isn't it, after 2 games? And as it is with Danny Schofield, it's very early to sort of...
All back 4 needs chemistry. I mean, that was like,
it's all about, all about the chemistry.
I think the problem is, Ollie, I think you nailed it, but it's like, you can't help but feel we played a shit team there, a really poor side who's going to be... Their media, their podcasting people, everyone's downbeat, as you would be. You were there, half of the stands are knack and not open. They're flat. They're expecting to battle against staying up. So, like you said, for them...
Went top of the league, though, didn't they?
Yeah. I think that's the thing, and there's tougher games to come for us, which is a concern.
Oh, the run's quite frightening, isn't it? With some of them.
Burnley game were flattering, wasn't it? They should have won by lots more. So I won't be fooled by that. But it's we're just. I mean, Troy Deeney looked finished, man, didn't he? He looked absolute shadow of his former self. He offered nothing.
Huge blow.
But Bakuna, bloody hell! Typically, it was one of his going nights, but he was on fire. That goal would have been unbelievable, man.
Yeah, I thought sort of he was typical Bakuna, really. I thought there were flashes where he was really good, and then there'd be nothing really there for half an hour, and then he'd come back and flash. But that's just Bakuna. When he's good, isn't he? And when he's not,
I've seen some daft stuff on Twitter about how Sorba was expected to run back.
Oh, that's such nonsense, is that? Because it's the 91st, 92nd minute. If everybody runs back to defence and you win the ball, how are you going to transition back out? You know, it's one of those things where you've just got to cut your losses sometimes. Tom Lees maybe should have dealt with that a little bit better, and Dwayne does walk, to be fair, rather than moving back into position. But Sorba runs back down the flank into a position to receive the ball. I thought that was. I can understand fans are frustrated, but I thought that was I just thought that was a bit unnecessary, a little bit unnecessary, really, but it's just the way things are. People are a bit annoyed and unhappy, aren't they? So it's just everything's crap at the minute, isn't it? It's just one of those things, and you understand it because people are frustrated because we've sold everybody and we're not playing well after 2 games. But anyway, let's move on before. Otherwise, we'll never get through these. Bez says, agree with Johnny. We are desperate for a runner in midfield. Russell's lack of mobility and pace is getting taken advantage of, and Hoggy, bless him, is showing his age. Thought Reg was our best defender. He's certainly the only defender who can pass a ball into midfield and to the forwards. That's definitely a strength of Reg. John Earnshaw says, it's 2 games FFS. I hope this doesn't turn into a slag-off fest. I don't think it's going to turn into a slag-off fest. I think there's just a few concerns we've got at the minute, but everybody's still hoping Danny Schofield pulls this out. So don't worry, John. I don't think everybody's.
We'll get top 2, John. Keep the faith.
Exactly. Don't worry, John. It's fine. We'll be all right.
Point from 2 games last year, so
don't worry about it. Yeah, we'll be all right. We're on track, aren't we? On track for 3rd again. Don't worry. But it's like you say, it's right though in a way, isn't it? It is 2 games, and we are trying to sort of say, look, the first 2 games were crap. But it is only 2 games, and there's still 44 left. So we're not going to write the whole season off based on 2 games, because you'd be silly to do that based on last year.
You can only judge what you've seen, though, to an extent as well.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, and signs aren't exactly amazing, but the signs weren't amazing last year either. So who knows what's going to come? Yeah. Bez says Nakayama at left back, Brody Spencer right full back, or is he too young? Well, if what we've said is true, we might see on Tuesday. Danny Grant should be playing over Karoma all day long, says Mike. Danny Grant's an interesting one. He's come back looking fit, firing, hasn't he? I think he had a friendly where, I think it was at Doncaster, I can't remember, where he didn't particularly do that great. But, Danny Grant's, I think he's got people excited, hasn't he? Because he's young, he's hungry, he's ready, he looks ready, like he's ready to take his chance, and the club, clipped that goal he scored for the B team the other day. It's a great goal. So I think people are kind of interested to see what Danny Grant can bring. So, it's one of these things, we kind of need a win. Danny Schofield needs a win, doesn't he, really, against Preston or against anybody. He needs that win. So you can't really throw too many in, but at the same time, it'd be good to see a few of them to see if they can make an impact on the first team. But that's Danny's job too, isn't it, just to get the balance right on that one. Who else have we got? Pontiterra says, Sims, don't start me off on this. Sims bagging 2 at Sunderland. Seems to me like we are looking for a striker going by the strong links to Sims. Honestly, I've been on about Ellis Sims for how long now? 12, 18 months. I think he's perfect for us, and when we missed out on him to Sunderland, I was absolutely gutted. But like we were saying, I don't think striker is the main priority at the minute, but he would have been excellent. But anyway, that's going to depress me. Mike says, did we...
One of them was a Pritchard assisted to a slight bit.
I think he got 2 assisted. Pritchard. I think it was a good cross as well.
You're raving about Pritchard. Eh?
I know. I've been chatting to a guy from Roker Report, and they think he's brilliant, and he's getting all these assists, and I'm like, who is this man? We just got some imposter, didn't we? But
the Pritchard's a bitch, baby.
Yeah.
He's going to score though in front of Southstand, don't you?
And he'll give it the whole calm thing, and that'll just wind everyone up more, won't it? But the last few comments. Mike says, "Did we make a mistake letting Naby Sarr go?" Potentially, I'm led to believe that was a financial thing more than anything. That Naby was on a lot of money, but I would have liked to keep him. I would have liked to have kept him.
Naby Sarr. That's the reason why we've done it. It's almost like lower quality.
But he's gone to Reading, and Reading can only offer 4 or 5 grand a week, so it's not like. So that's
I
I can't think after watching the first two games that my big takeaway was, God, we miss Naby Sarr. You know what I mean? But I understand. Yeah,
but
you can see.
maybe
You
I
can
had a
see
few
where it's,
too. You,
I don't.
you can see where it's
I
coming
wouldn't.
from, right?
Yeah, I
Pearson's
can.
not, if Pearson's fit,
electric.
do you know what I mean? Then it's where you're putting him in, and I know you can say, well,
Well,
Pearson's not fit,
we've seen
but I
Tom
think
Lees on the
that
left
makes
looking
it
a little bit.
worse.
Yeah, Tom Lees is struggling. Well, what people are saying is he's struggling more on the left of the two, isn't he, Tom Lees? But
Fair.
I think someone
Yeah,
said
fair
that as well about. I think it's in the questions later on. But what I will say is when Levi Colwell got injured last year, we played Pearson and Lees together at the back through what was it, January, February, March, that period, and Tom Lees played left centre back and didn't look out of place at all. So I'm not sure that's the thing. It's more perhaps the system itself rather than the position, if that makes sense. The last two, Trevor Stevenson says, how do we only get 10 mil for O'Brien and Toff? Have I missed something? Probably, Trevor. I won't worry about what was repeated on Match of the Day where they reckoned it was 5 each. That's a load of nonsense. But it was a double deal. But there are a lot of add-ons to come for.
He'll never start though. He'll always be on
an awful debut.
He did start it tough, and he's getting a lot of grief. Bless him. But anyway, Richard Hookie says, I agree. I think fans are more frustrated with the sale of players and need to move on quickly and get behind the lads. I think that brings us nicely on to the next topic, which we'll try and tread lightly around. But Ollie, you were at the game. Let me have a look. So we've got on my agenda here, we've got Schofield. We've done that one, but we've asked how we are central midfielders short, which we agree on. And so here we go. So Nick Barlow, good lad is Nick, he sent in a question to us. It says, were the fans right to jeer the players after just 10 minutes on Friday? It's only a game. It's only game 2. So is it justified? Or is it fair after the efforts they've gone to travel and see performances like that? This is when the players need us most, but I fear a toxic atmosphere against Stoke. Ollie, you were there. And you were, it's safe to say, we chatted, didn't we? And you were very frustrated by some of the attitudes among a small section of town fans who you described.
Not my exact words there.
No, there's a lot of expletives in there, wasn't there? Which we won't do. But you were a little bit frustrated. I'm always of the opinion that you should always back the team during the game, and then at the end of the game, if you've paid your money, they've let you down, let them know. I don't have an issue with that. I think some people go too far sometimes, but I'm still of the or maybe if they're not playing as well as what you would expect, then fans are quite right to give them a rocket. I don't mind constructive feedback, but nonsensical bollocks, Ollie, as you may have described it. Talk us through your point. Talk us through your point. I've set you up there.
I mean, just on what you said there as well, I do also agree that everyone in there is a paying supporter and they pay for the right to express their opinion, and I do agree with that. But if they want to do it in a ridiculous way, then they're going to get a few scowls from other people in the away end. I can't say I heard jeers and boos or anything like that after 10 minutes. I might have just not heard them, but there was certainly that similar kind of frustration in that we haven't got going here. We need to just string a few passes together. That would be nice. But just in general, now I think obviously there are various factors that have fed into this over the summer. There was the way that the playoff final happened. The squad's been dismantled. The head coach is gone. There's not a lot of enthusiasm that has been self-generated going into this season.
I'll even say, Ollie, that there's not been a lot of enthusiasm since COVID with town fans.
Yeah, maybe so. And I guess the Burnley game certainly won't have helped. Not that you can expect us to turn them over or anything like that. And then to concede an early goal against Birmingham. Again, these are all things that add up to the kind of to potentially reaching boiling point. But I do think it is a bit too soon, to be firing straight up abuse at the team for the way that they were playing. They do need supporting through this, which is a difficult moment, and it's early in the season when we've still got an opportunity to turn things around. I do think that there are some things that are daft. I totally understand as well the increased urgency in the last 10 minutes, when we're really pushing for that equaliser and we're dilly-dallying around with it. That's fine. Fans get on the backs, encourage them to get the ball forward more directly. That's fine. But yeah, just the songs in the first half. We've lost the ball. We've got the ball. We've lost. It's boring. It's unimaginative. Yeah. It doesn't help anybody. It's not cool or edgy to chant that kind of thing. In fact, it's been done so much now that it's just shite. And then, after 5 minutes, you've got the song fired up. You're just a shit Aston Villa. And it's like, really, is that where we're at? You know, I know we've got a young element following us and stuff like that, and they think that that's probably great to chant, but it just makes us look tin pot. You know what I mean? It's just, I have to go back to the point that I said, because I do believe you pay and you experience the match day how you want to do it, but if you're going to behave like a dickhead, expect to be called out on publicly on stuff like this, to be honest. I just think there are so many better ways you can spend your energy, to be honest. I would say the split of song was half supporting the team and half just parody, just going for comedy effect about how bad we were. And you can't be doing that.
It's not helpful though, is it?
It does nothing. It does nothing. And I just found it bizarre. And as I say, cringeworthy and a bit tin pot. That's it, rant over.
Fair enough. Anyone else got anything? Like, I think me and Kosi, we've been fans for, and John, you know, we've all been fans for a fair while. We've seen how good Huddersfield fans can be, haven't we? We've seen how a proper, you know, vocal Huddersfield Town following, and the players have mentioned this before, haven't they? About how Huddersfield fans can really act as, you know, it's really cliche, isn't it? Saying the 12th man, etc. Really, you know, it's as tin pot and cliche as what Ollie's on about. But the fans have mentioned, you know, what a difference it makes to have fans behind you, you know, and just watching the Commonwealth Games before we come on air as well, and there's like Ailish McColgan's gone round and got silver, and she's sort of saying, you know, the noise and the energy from the fans cheering me on has pushed me through to second. And it's like, well, we've seen what Huddersfield fans can do, especially in the South Stand and around and away. You know, we've seen what they can do, and we've seen what effect it has on the players on the pitch. And we just need a bit more. It's hard to be positive, isn't it, when you're watching what we're watching at the minute? It is difficult. I understand that. But sometimes it just needs some more. It needs more. Give something and you might get something back, I think is what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah,
go on, Cos.
We started the show going about Bradford City. If anyone should be singing them songs, Ollie was just starting out, it should be them after 15.
They do, don't worry, they do.
No, but, you know, we've had it good over the last few years.
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
And stuff. It's incredible how it, you know, there's some people, town fans that just really enjoy us being miserable and shit and stuff and calling it out. I take social media out of it because everyone seems to, you know, kind of exaggerate stuff on there. But the way that people just like down tools or, you know, just drop stuff after 2 games. Anyone with half a brain knows that you know, it's a bit of a transitional time for us and that as well. It's like Ollie said there, you know, earlier on, we was kind of sold a bit of continuity, and we're miles off that. We've got different players. It feels like we're starting from scratch again, like we've almost been promoted back to the Championship. But all that stuff, though, I can honestly, it is tin pot. I can maybe get it if it's like April and we're like rock bottom or something like that. But it's embarrassing, isn't it? It's stuff like that, and it's almost like some town fans enjoy being miserable and stuff like that. It's just weird, isn't it? And you look now, anytime there's a sponsor goes on, anything kind of positive the club try and do, you know, I don't like to do it. I thought I'll have a scroll down, and it's the same old names on Twitter that are like, you just do something else with your Saturday that it causes you so much pain. I just don't get it. And honestly, it's a time for kind of growing a pair and just like getting behind it and you know, just observing that it's a changed everything at Huddersfield Town. But no, some people it's just embarrassing, it black and white and stuff. And I don't get it. But our fans more than most just seem to enjoy just being miserable, and it's almost like League One mentality. If they got back there, a lot of them would be quite happy to be there and stuff like that as well.
I'd absolutely hate it if we're back there.
And I just think, Matt, it just showed the way I thought we went to Wembley, where hardly any singing, oh, we don't want to go up, do we? We'll get battered every week and all that. It'd be no good going up and stuff. I remember getting my COVID jab when we were like third, and this guy was putting, well, you don't want to go back at Premier League, do you? Like, bloody hell, mate, what's the point? I might just pack in. It's just, I don't know what it is with town fans. It's like...
Doctors in the bedside manner, eh, Cos?
No, but if this is Bradford City podcast and they're getting beat at Stevenage and what have you, and they've had 15 years of shit losing in League Two, I get it. But we were 90 minutes away from going to Premier League, and after 2 games, like with a new rookie coach and like it was lost his best players, we're singing that shite. Embarrassing, man.
I think let's just like round up on this a bit, because I don't want it to be a slagging off for town fans, because it's not really what it is it? It's just, let's be honest, it's a small element of town fans, isn't it? A very small element fans who don't think the same way we do. Jack Johnston in the comments says, give over about the songs, it goes on all over the country every week. Maybe the shit Aston Villa chant does, but the rest of it does not at all. And you know, the Aston Villa chant, I would expect that ground in the country, to be honest. It's just football fans, isn't it? But the other bits, we've lost the ball and stuff. It's just that's not for me. But maybe I'm out of touch with football fandom these days. Who knows? But like I say, it is a small. Like I say, Huddersfield fans can be absolutely great, fantastic, can't they? But that sometimes I think they just tend to switch to apathy really quickly, and I don't know if it's a pride thing or not, because I'm going to say something really boring now. And I've been to believe it or not, Kosi, I've been to Huddersfield Town Centre. I live in Leeds, so people were going, "What are you going to Huddersfield for?"
At McDonald's on Monday night at 7 p.m. That's not a good sign, is it?
No, I've been to a couple of things on in Huddersfield last few weeks. So I've been to Huddersfield, and I saw. There's a thing on in the Huddersfield Leisure Centre. The Huddersfield Sports Centre is decent, by the way. Went there the other day, and I've seen about 20 people in Huddersfield wearing football shirts. In the last 2 weeks, only one wearing a Huddersfield Town shirt out of 20. And I made a point of counting it because me and a mate talk about this kind of thing. And I've been out in Leeds today. There's a Leeds Pride March, and we went to look at the my little boy's 4. And we went to look at the dinosaur. Count the dinosaurs. It's brilliant. What they have, the Jurassic Trail. Go look at these dinosaurs, Kosi. You might see Richard Keogh and a few of your other favourites in there as well. But it's really cool, and there's Leeds shirts everywhere. And I know they've won yesterday, but even when they weren't winning, you'd see 50-year-old blokes in those ill-fitting tight Macron things pushing the boobs up, into a really unflattering pose. And there's like a pride thing. I don't know. To believe it or not, I did see a kid in Trinity wearing a Huddersfield Town John Russell number 5 shirt. We're absolutely suited when I saw that. I almost went over and bought him a drink and went, you're brave to be wearing that today. But so fair play to those to that little boy who was wearing a John Russell Huddersfield shirt in Trinity Kitchen this afternoon. But there does seem to be a lack of pride amongst the Huddersfield fan base at the minute, a lack of enthusiasm, lack of pride, and I've probably got it a little bit as well. So I'm not slating other people.
When you lose the Championship playoff final,
sometimes it galvanises though. If you come back, it galvanises people. But
when they lost to Hull in 05 and stuff, 2015 or 16 won it. But it's like, I just think the way we lost it, and the Forest have absolutely muled us with his players and Carlos. I
don't blame people. I'm not
damage that, man.
Yeah, I'm not blaming people. I'm just sort of thinking, how do we get this back? Because those songs aren't helpful. How do we get people back, singing or being more positive? And I'm not saying everyone should sit there and happy clap and all that nonsense. I'm just trying to think, how do we get people, walking around town wearing the town shirts again? I don't wear football shirts. I find the whole peacocking in football shirts thing a little bit weird, if I'm honest. But for those people who like wearing football shirts, why aren't you wearing your town shirts? Why are the people wearing Liverpool and Man United shirts walking around Huddersfield? What makes them follow? What makes them go pot hunting? I know. It's just why are you not supporting your local team? I'm like, I know it's always happened. I know we went to Wycliffe Mount and whatnot because I don't know if you actually went to Wycliffe Mount, but it's always been the case, hasn't it? But I just wonder why more people are feeling that way out at the minute, especially after we've been so high. Why are people so low? And I know we've sold players, but it just seems like it's dipped way too low for where I would expect. But it's all a little bit odd at the minute, and I can't put my finger on it, and maybe other people can.
I think that apathy is worse than anger. I think if there's anger, then it suggests that there's still a fire burning there somewhere, whereas apathy is like people have given up and stopped caring entirely. But I do think a lot of the apathy, a lot of the stuff that you see on social media and stuff, I don't care about town anymore, and I think it's false. I think some people are doing it, just generally speaking, to cover up that we've had our pride dented a little bit over the last couple of months. There's no two ways about it. We lost the playoff final. We've had the squad kind of cherry picked apart, and here we are sort of having to pick up the pieces. But I do firmly believe that there is still something there. I mean, you scroll up and down Twitter on a match day and there's still plenty of people, even if they're all moaning, they've all got something to say about the team. They've got something to say about the game. And I think in that sense, the involvement might not have necessarily decreased massively. But what we need is just to get that channeled into something positive with a couple of good performances and a couple of wins under our belt. That's what will swing the pendulum. And I don't really know what else can do it apart from a couple of new signings. But I don't think they're.
We have this discussion, don't we, about we pause mostly about the Cowshed Loyal, and he wanted to create or help with the group create something whereby the product on the pitch didn't dictate how loud they were, and things like that. But it's very difficult, isn't it? If Huddersfield Town are pretty crap to watch, it's very difficult to stand there doing your thing, isn't it? And I think Huddersfield fans are maybe a bit led. I am, we all are led by, maybe what's happening on the pitch, and maybe that's just why we're all feeling that way. But sometimes with fans of other clubs, it galvanises and they, come out fighting, don't they? And it's just, I don't know, I'm just talking a load of nonsense really, but it just feels that everybody's a bit down at the minute. And, you're right. I think a positive result or two and maybe everyone will get back on track, and that's what we're hoping to do. Declan in the comments says we've got nothing to sing about at the minute, and he's probably right in some ways. So yeah, that's fair enough. Let's move on, because we all love Huddersfield fans, and we don't want to be delaying sort of sitting on that too long. Right, so we asked for some questions on Twitter. Well, I asked for some questions on Twitter because I couldn't be bothered putting the agenda together because I'm very lazy. So a couple of things came in, not always quite positive, but we'll try and go through them. So HTFC86 says, with Danny Schofield being a new coach and needing time to find his feet, how long do you give him to find his feet, and performances like the first 2 games become unacceptable? That's a very difficult one to sort of ask, because it is only 2 games. I think you've got to give him a chance to work through the issues, haven't you? The first and foremost, if what we're saying in terms of, there's some teething problems tactically, you can't just sort of after 2 games go, right, done it, not working, mate. I know he's been a coach with us for 2 years, etc., through the Carlos period, but this guy, he comes highly recommended outside of Huddersfield Town. So, it's not just a case of, I don't believe it's the ultimate cheap option, etc. I think Danny Schofield is a good coach. He's proved he's a good coach. He's worked at a couple. He's worked with us. He's worked for Leeds. He's worked a couple of other places. You have to give him time to work through these issues, and I don't really want to give him a set time, really, because it all depends on what it looks like on the field, doesn't it? Results obviously matter, but I think even if we lose against Preston, but we look like a force, where we create a lot more and we look like we're moving in the right direction, I think people will be okay with that. And again, you've got Stoke and Norwich on the horizon. People understand these are decent teams that can turn us over. But if we go out there and we look like a team fighting and a team looking to create and, on the front foot again, people will be a lot more forgiving. I think it's just a case of if we just become incredibly sort of passive and flaccid, shall we say, Town fans won't really stand for that, will they? They don't really like it. We were saying last year, weren't we, Ollie, with Town fans not really singing a lot, in terms behind in the South Stand and I think a lot of it is really the tactics from Carlos Corberán were a little bit passive at times, and it makes people nervous, doesn't it? And it's harder to, sort of get really behind excitedly when the team are quite defensive. It's just one of those things, isn't it? But I think if we see a return to sort of Town on the front foot and looking organised, I think people will be quite forgiving. Town fans don't ask for a lot, do they? At the end of the day,
No. I remember that. No, go on. Sorry.
So I was going to say it's a really hard question to answer, really, because
you don't really want to answer it either.
Yeah, but it comes a point where you're right in what you're saying in regards to performances. If you can see like each game, it's trending upwards. People are starting to see, like we said earlier, pattern of play. Players are getting better. Players are improving. Are you losing games by finer margins? Then yeah, to a certain extent, you can see improvement. You can see development from the team. But then you
can't lose 10 in a row either.
How it is now, there's the kind of the elephant in the room that points do win prizes. And I know, remove Forest of last season, not to keep mentioning them, but if you are sat 8, 9, 10 games, 1 point, 2 points, have you got a win yet? It comes a tipping point where even though you're still seeing improved performances, being in League One next season is absolutely not acceptable. So it's really hard, and I think we're just going to have to give it time and just track that kind of game on game. Add to that the teams we've got coming up with Coventry, Norwich, West Brom, not necessarily in that order, Stoke. Again, that's why I think the Birmingham game would have been good to get something out for that reason. But
and maybe why Preston's quite key. Yeah,
even more so. I think for me, it's a case of if we can see small rooms of improvement, players getting a bit back to themselves, see a bit more of a pattern of play. I am forgiving Danny time. I don't. Even if we're not still kind of sat here watching Liverpool about 10 games, I think that's okay. And again, I know it's been kind of talked about before, but Carlos wasn't great in his first year. That doesn't mean you just give Danny a free year. Absolutely not. The things are chalk and cheese, but it is a case of giving it time. And I think we should do that. And I think the best way to kind of is just to kind of every game's been slightly different, but hopefully we can see those rooms of improvement and get a couple of points as we go. Maybe a couple of messy wins might just buy himself a bit more time as well. But in regards to how long do we give it, and going back to the actual question, it's nigh impossible to answer, because you could have 10 amazing performances, but we sit on 0 points. He probably will lose his job, and that's just the way football is.
Yeah, it's not something I want to answer either, because everyone here wants Danny Schofield to work out, and we want to be winning games, and we want to look decent. It's just, if we don't, it's like you say, it's the elephant in the room. But I just want to ignore that for now and hope, and wish Danny all the best, to be honest.
I think the circumstances, weirdly, have probably bought him more time. I mean, I'm not saying that there is a definite time that's been put on it, but our fans, generally speaking, aren't thick. Like, they understand that it's a very, very difficult set of circumstances to inherit, and that it is going to take a period of adjustment and adaptation. And in answer to the original question, and I know, it was the way it was worded, but Schofield's not a new coach. He's a new head coach, and there is a big difference, yes.
They made that thing about him being more experienced than Carlos as well, haven't they? Which is something that might come back to, might be used against them in a little while if things don't improve, which would be harsh, but it's just the way things work,
definitely.
Isn't it?
And as you mentioned, he's very highly regarded both inside the club and outside the club, and I think that will also help him in being given a longer leash to turn things around if the bad start does turn really, really sour. He's learning so many things, no doubt, at the moment, and has been since he got the job. The various intricacies of man management will no doubt be one of them. You've got to acknowledge as well, he's managing the team through a transfer window at the moment, so there are various questions related to personnel. We've lost. I know Kosi was sort of saying earlier that Kasuma would be more of a complementary piece rather than someone to build a team around, but you lose a cog like that very early in the season, and all of a sudden we look very thin in midfield. So there's various things that he'll be learning to battle, and he is now the face of things. He's the face of everything. He's the man who has to go and answer the tough questions. He's the man who has to make the tough decisions, whereas before he wasn't. So there will be a period of transition from coach to head coach that Danny will figure out for himself over the next few weeks. And I think, as I say, with the circumstances, he'll probably be given more time to do that. But yeah, I don't know. If you're forced to say something, then probably be like, where are we come the end of November or something like that. I don't think that we'll be on 3 points after 20 games or anything like that. And I know, and I understand everyone saying, it'd be great to see some positive performances and then, the results that might follow. I actually wouldn't mind us winning a couple of games really ugly, just to prove that we've still got that knack in us from last season. Of picking up points with performances that aren't necessarily that great, and then if the champagne football follows, then that's fantastic. I remember distinctly the Wagner first proper game in charge away at Hillsborough against Sheff Wednesday, when we went 1-0 up and we were playing them off the park with our energy and our intensity, and we lost that game 3-1 because we ran out of steam in the second half. But Town were rightly clapped off that day.
Great one.
Everybody
Great game.
was in the away end. But it's like, there it is. We've seen something, and something's clicked out of nowhere. I'm not saying there's going to be a big moment of realization that we're onto something special quite like that. Nor am I comparing the two managers at all. But I really hope that something does click like that, because it could turn the fans very quickly back on side.
Go on, Cos. You can round up that. It's not the nicest question to sort of. I understand why it's been asked, but it's not the nicest one to answer, is it? Really? You're on mute, by the way. There he is. He's still on mute. There he is.
Bloody hell. Yeah, can't even press.
Technophobe.
Not a lot to add, to be honest with you. Just what Ollie said at the start just struck a chord with me. It feels like we're starting from scratch again, doesn't it? And it shouldn't be like that when we finished third and had 3 points. I get we've got a new coach, but it just feels like as a club we're starting from scratch, and it's so frustrating. It's that
He's not had a great hand, has he?
No, but I suppose then you think like loan players. I know Forest are not exactly everyone's favourite team, but they lost like 6 players from last season and loan players and stuff. So they're starting from scratch, and I think that's just the problem, isn't it? Really, when you sell the best players and lose loan players if you don't get them in quickly. I think, yeah, it's it's a puzzle. But like Ollie said again, 10 games or whatever, or it's it's judged. But let's be positive. A big week ahead, 2 home games.
We can beat Stoke.
Yeah, get through with the cup with maybe 1 or 2 shining lights, maybe a Grant or someone showing something like. But yeah, and get past Stoke. But I get the feeling this is coming up. It's going to be a massive week for us. I know. And then obviously got Norwich coming after the week after as well. I think the next 9 days, 3 massive games. Even this early because he needs a win, doesn't he?
I think John Earnshaw makes the point. Says a win will change the mood. It always does, and he's right. Danny Schofield needed a win early, didn't he? He needed a win early just to get everyone sort of on side, and I think everyone would have been okay if we'd say, for example, we'd have got a point against Burnley, not that we deserved it, and a win against Birmingham. Everyone would be like, "What a coach Danny Schofield is!" And it's the fine margins and how things can turn. If we win the next 2 games, people will be like, "Top man," you know what I mean?
Yeah, the 2 first half performances have been crap, and one thing's for sure for both the games coming up this week is we've got to go, when the ref blows a whistle, let's start playing. You know what I mean? Let's not wait.
Absolutely. Let's just go to. We don't really have a lot more to discuss, really. So if you have a couple of questions quickly that you can throw at us, we'll do our best. But other than that, we'll be rounding up quite shortly. So I'll just go to some of the things. I feel like it's been a negative podcast. I feel like we need some positivity to try and lift it because I feel a little bit. I'm going to go upstairs and sit in a dark room after this, and with my head up with a towel over my head. It feels a bit bad. Didn't want it to go this way.
We could get Burnley because we'd lost to a really good side. I know we don't know how good these are. I'll tell you how good Birmingham are, mate. They're crap, and they will be bottom 6. They'll be bottom 6, man. So
I think so.
But like on the positive spin, Matt, we could have got a point. I know, but
we didn't. Really but we could have. Yeah.
I thought we were going to win once we got one back, but like I said, we had 5 minutes and just kind of powder puff stuff after that. But I think it's because we lost it. Really, I think. The next week so is going to be fascinating. I don't want to be going to Norwich on the back of.
Norwich haven't started great though. I don't think there's anything massive to fear there. They haven't set the world alight yet. I know they could.
Wigan was solid though, Matt.
That first half an hour, Norwich absolutely mauled Wigan, and it is bizarre that they didn't score a goal. But then Wigan got that one opportunity from a sloppy giveaway, and they took it. And that needs to be the way that we approach. Maybe that's all that needs for us.
Don't break. Maybe Ollie will be a different side if we get in front rather than go behind. Who knows? Maybe we just need that to see how we have.
And they went over the top. The tackle were a shocker in my opinion. But on the front back, but they get stuck in Wigan putting they got stuck in to kick people about. That's what I want to see with Town, and we're not seeing that in the first 2 games. We're too nice.
Apart from Sorba, he's kicking people about, isn't he? But rather daftly.
I think you're right in what you're saying with Norwich. It could be because I don't think they're quite as good as Burnley, but they'll have the impetus in the game, unlike Birmingham. So it might play into hands to be a little bit more kind of reserved, a bit more cautious, and then play a bit like we did last year. So it could be a good team to play rather than someone's going to sit. We try and break down. We don't a bit sloppy concede, then we've got 80 minutes of trying to break down. Do you know what I mean? A wall. So it could be a good game. Famous last words, but. Hopefully, try and get some
Jonny again.
Exactly.
That's me.
We're rounding on more positive vibes here. I think this is what we wanted to do, isn't it? Because it's been a bit of a bleak one. That's if you're still with us after all that negative. I think we've slagged everyone off: the team, the players, the coach, the fans. We've done it all, haven't we, on this podcast?
Yeah, I got that.
We love you all, but we've.
Go on, mate. That's a nice shirt that grew on me. Right, I looked at all our kits and I just want having that 3rd shirt and it's on. It's on my back, man.
Do you know my disappointing thing about that shirt and the black one is I buy them for my little boy to because I like to buy him all the kits because I used to get all the kits when I was a kid and they're all in a box upstairs. I keep them all and just I don't know, it's just a thing. And so I like to buy them all for him. But for some reason, Town have stopped doing toddler shirts in. You can only get the blue and white one. You can't get any of the away kits in toddler sizes, 4 to 5 or any other size. So last year I had to buy him a young, YS, and it absolutely drowns him because he's small for his age. But I'd be happy if they brought 1 or 2 out, or you could order one specifically.
Dryer, it'll shrink it.
Good idea, yeah.
The only thing I want to bring up is Blackpool at home. What are we doing? We're moving the games.
That's for the Giants, isn't it? I don't really understand why we've.
You get it, so they can't move the Giants game. They all have to be played at the same time.
Oh, that'll be why.
That was another thing, going back to what Kosi said earlier. It's like we announce sponsor, everyone slams it. Not like another game moving. It's like with the Birmingham game, nothing to do with us. The Blackpool game, like you said there, we can't. It's not our fault, but it's just something else.
It kind of is. It kind of is in a way, because they would have known. Like Birmingham one's ridiculous because it's the Commonwealth Games. They didn't. Birmingham should have known. So that's for fans that were going to go on the Saturday, that's a bit of a kick in the balls, that, because I think I possibly might have gone if it was the Saturday. But the Giants one, people should have known this in advance by February, March. So the fixture computer should have known that, either to put us away.
That's not.
Exactly. Not Huddersfield. Yeah, absolutely. But what I'm saying is the football inside should have known Huddersfield should be away that week, or maybe Friday night. I don't know why we can't have. Although Friday or Sunday makes no odds. It's not on Saturday at 3 p.m, isn't it? But maybe we should have been away that week. But these are things for town to take to the relevant authorities. But it is frustrating because we do love our Saturday 3 p.m s, don't we? And we've had Friday, Sunday, Tuesdays. But go on, Kosi, you're about to.
I got to ask you. Did you see them Altogether Town minutes the other day about the bit? There was some stuff that some of it were like, what's going on? But about the playing the songs up to kick off, a bit like, I don't know, Greasy Chip Butty or Delilah, what have you, just stopping and then getting everyone singing and stuff. What did you think of that? I just think let it build up itself and does what it does now. I think it'd be a bit of a
it's something that's never been settled on, has it? The sort of music pre-match, what should be played as the teams are walking out, and should they have Smile a While and it cut out before the second chorus, whatever you want to call it. I'm with you. I think that sort of some of my best memories recent times has been the promotion season and the Premier League season, where fans were sort of getting into the ground like 10 minutes before kickoff, and it was building up with chants of Blue and White Army and stuff. And then naturally it goes into Smile a While just before kickoff by itself. It doesn't need to be music led. I mean, I understand they've got to play a few tunes in that while the ground's filling up, but also like it's not what it was then either. The South Stand isn't full at the moment. There are empty seats there, and the noise is going to have to follow from some good performances. So it's a difficult one. But yeah, I'm all for, in the 2 minutes before kickoff, let's say, let the crowd G the team up themselves. We don't really need music to do that, in my opinion. But I can understand why they've gone back to sort of playing it.
Okay, let's just round up on the YouTube comments. So Bez 5678 says, I think he's got till the World Cup. If we are in the bottom three, then I reckon Hall will pull the plug. I think the World Cup's kind of interesting because that's a big gap, isn't it, without any games there? And I think that's the ideal time.
November, yeah,
that's the ideal time to get some, because we have had a short pre-season. Danny Schofield's been screwed a little bit by the timing of Carlos Corberán leaving. Let's stick up for Danny a little bit. He's been screwed a little bit because Carlos has left with a couple of weeks to go to the season. So he's got to all of a sudden come in and put his print on in only a couple of weeks. And it's going to take a little time to get that across. But hopefully he manages to get to that stage, because no one wants Danny Schofield not coaching the club at the minute. He's got the job. We all want him to do well, and that means winning games. So hopefully we can get to that stage, Ollie, like you say, at the end of November. And then we'll probably lose Sorba Thomas, and that's it, World Cup wise, maybe. And if Sorba keeps playing as he is at the minute, that's not a given. So then he will have a month or so ish to really sort of maybe go away to Marbella like they do, some warm weather training, and really get to grips with the squad and really work on those things. And I think if we can get through to that stage, we'll see a much better team after that World Cup break, because Danny Schofield will have had time to really sort of, because at the minute he's working on the fly, isn't he, and tinkering on the fly. And hopefully we get to that stage and he can go, right, lads, this is what we do, and we're going to work on this, this, and this, and this. And he's got the time to do so. And I think that's hopefully the situation where we'll get to. So I'm really hoping Danny gets the opportunity to do that. But going on, Leo says 10 games. If it doesn't work, bring in Big Duncan Ferguson. That's an interesting name. Pontiterra says, will be interesting if he's part of the management setup if he does get the sack. I wouldn't imagine so, but let's not hope Danny Schofield is heading that way. Max says, I think a lot of fans perceive the club as having a small club mentality despite last season. It's one step forwards, then two back. Ross Liversidge says, or Levisage, I should say, sorry, not Liversidge, that's where Kosi is. If we win on Tuesday, hopefully it gives us more confidence for the game on Saturday. That's it, Ross. We're just looking for that win. And Richard Hookie, I like Richard because he's always positive on here. He says, it's okay, lads. It's going to be all good, guys. Don't worry.
Don't worry about a thing.
Maybe we should just bring that back in the South States.
Yeah, I think so. Everyone does it though now, don't they? It feels like it's a bit of a generic FIFA chant.
Controversially, I never liked it. It's an Ajax thing for me. Like, that's their thing. It's very unique.
Yeah, well, this is the thing about football nowadays. Everyone just steals everything. Nobody's original, are they? So it's just the...
Geno's latest chant. Oh, my word.
You mean the Donald McDermott song?
No one
We could do so much better. Do so much better than that. Yeah.
At least, yeah.
I mean,
at least they're singing positive. You can't sort of tell them to sing shit.
Blackpool have come up with that Charlie Patino chant in a few days. That's absolutely
not heard
brilliant.
it.
Yeah, that's worth a look on Twitter. But yeah, we do maybe even stuff like that makes a bit of a difference to the players, because like we chanted about O'Brien, we chanted about Toffolo all of last season, and now we just need some more player songs. But that's something
Nakayama. That'll set you on a Nakayama song.
We got Oli. Big in Japan. We're just going to sing Big in Japan for a good 40 minutes there.
I'm sure some people are like that. Best 5678 says, who's bought their ticket for Tuesday? Many thousands of blue dots on the ticket site, less than 5,000 attendance coming up. I've not bought mine yet. I work till 7 on Tuesdays, but I'm still weighing that up whether to turn out or not. I suppose it depends on who else goes. You guys going? Ollie, you live in London, you've got a pass. And actually, Johnny, you live towards Manchester, Preston way, don't you? So you've got a pass as well. It's up to me and you, Cos. We've got to turn up and support the boys, I'm afraid.
Mate, but I'll be...
what an excuse.
Saudi Arabia, mate, watching
on Saudi Arabia. I know. It's up to me then, isn't it, to get there and back the boys. So I'll see what I can do. Bez on that one.
Out, Matt.
They don't have the bin anymore, do they? They used to be able to get them out of that bin and go up to the thing. They've removed the bin now. I think you've got hold of the bin and burnt the stuff. Dag Barnett finishes it up. He says, it's right that we challenge where we are right now. We need to be better across the pitch. Mentally, the club is still at Wembley, cursing our luck. We need to pull together. We haven't seen that yet. So yeah, I think that's it. I think it's time really. We've sort of had a bit of a sulk, haven't we, tonight? It's only 2 games. We shouldn't get too downbeat. We've had a sulk at everything, haven't we? Who else? Why don't we bring Anne Hoff in? Nobody's mentioned Anne Hoff. Why don't we ever sulk about Anne Hoff? We've pretty much done everybody else. So, hopefully there's brighter things to come, isn't there? We've got Preston on the horizon. A good cup win will definitely see us moving in the direction. So, and we'll get to see some more young lads as well, the likes of Etienne Kamara, hopefully, and whatnot, do their thing. So, fingers crossed for a big week for Huddersfield Town. Make sure you tune in to Bradle Juice as he brings you the warm up, and we'll be back same time, same place next week with the same-ish people.
There's a team that is dear to its followers. The colours are bright blue and white. They're a team of renown, and they're the pride of the town. And the game of football is their delight. And all the while upon the field of play, thousands loudly cheer them on the way. Often you can hear them say, who can beat the town today? And then the bells will ring so merrily, and every goal shall be a memory. So town, play up and bring that cup back to Huddersfield. So town, play up and bring the cup back to Huddersfield.